Tutorial 2 of 3. We are going to solve equations involving surds. So this will be the steps. First is to square both sides. So to apply these steps, let's move on to the first example. So example 1. We have surd 2x minus 1 and minus 5 equal to 0. Remember, the question wants you to solve. Solve means find the value of x, but x is inside the surd. So to find this value, we have to make sure surd is on one side and then taking the x out of the surd. How do you do that? That's why the first step is to square both sides, because when you square a square root, then you will take the x out of the square root. Okay? So to solve this, 5 does not have any square root and it's not inside this square root or the surd. So what you have to do is just bring 5 to the right side and leave only the surd on the left side. Next, you have to square both sides. This is the first step. Square both sides. Why can't we only square the left hand side? Is because then the question won't equal. Let's say A is equal to B, for example. If suddenly you square A and then you don't square B, then it's not the same as the first one. Okay? So that's why we have to square both sides. So 5 squared is 75. And square of this square root is just 2x minus 1. Now x is outside of the square root. You can just solve this. As always, final answer is just 30. For example 2, B. To solve this, there's only one surd, and the x now is not only in the surd, but it's also outside here on the right hand side. You can just square both sides like this. But then, try to imagine when you want to expand this thing. You are going to have 2 of these brackets and then you want to expand all of this. It's doable, but it's a bit tedious. So I'm going to share you a method which is simpler and faster. Instead of just squaring both sides straight away, what you can do is you can simplify the problem before you square it by moving the value which is not the surd to the right side. So just bear in mind that anything which is not the surd, just bring it to the right side or the other side and just leave surd on one side. Now you can just square both sides. It's a little bit more simpler since surd here, when it meets with square, just cancel off. So you just get 3x plus 1 on the left side, and now on the right side it's just x minus 1 times x minus 1. Expand. This is just a quadratic equation. Bring everything to the left side and then equalize them to 0, and then you factorize it, so the answer is x equal to 0 or x equal to 5. But remember, the final step is to always check back the answers, whether they satisfy the original equation or not. To check this back, you have to substitute in 0 into the original question. So this is how you check. Substitute in this number inside the original question. Make sure left hand side is equal to right hand side. So 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1, surd 1. So surd 1 plus surd 1 is equal to 2, which is not equal to 0. So we reject this answer. And then for x equal to 5, 3 times 5 is 15 plus 1 is 16. Square root of 16 is 4 plus 1. Both left and right hand side is equal to 5. The only answer that we are going to accept is x equal to 5. Example C. Remember, the first step is to square both sides. But if let's say you try to square both sides right from this first step, try to imagine how complicated this is going to be. Instead of squaring both sides right from the first step, we try to simplify the problem first. Just leave the square roots of the surd with the more complicated term inside on the left side or at one side, and then bring the less complicated surd term to the right side. Now you can start squaring both sides. At least the more complicated term does not need to be expanded. You're left with 2 minus surd x times with 2 minus surd x, and this is the only terms that you have to expand. So after you expand, that's what you get, and then you keep on simplifying until you get surd x on one side. Now you can just bring this surd term to the left side and the rest to the right side. After you've brought the left side to the right, you see that the x's cancels out, so you're only left with 2 on the right side. Then just bring 4 to the right side. You want to solve and find the value of x, but x is still inside the surd. So what should we do is we have to square both sides now. So when you square both sides, your answer for x is 1 over 4. For this question, there's no easier way to solve it. You just have to square both sides, and then you have to expand quite a complicated surd value. You can straight away square both sides right from the beginning, or you can also take one of the terms to the right side and then square both sides. It's up to you. So let me try this method. I'm going to leave the surd with the most complicated term on the left side, and then bring the rest to the right side. Now I'm going to square both sides. To expand this easier, you can just write 2 brackets and expand it one by one. Do it carefully and be patient. So surd x plus 2 times surd x plus 2 is just x plus 2 surd squared. So the surd and square will cancel off. I'm just going to write x plus 2 here. Next is these 2 terms. There's no way for you to simplify it, so just write them in one surd with 2 brackets like this. Next will be these 2 terms. So since the 2 terms are the same, so it's going to be square root and square, and they will cancel off, so the answer is left with 2x minus 1. But be careful, there's a minus sign outside. Negative times negative is positive, and then the term 2x minus 1. Now it looks a little bit complicated, but actually it's not hard. What you have to do is combine all of the surds on one side and the rest on the other side. So I have combined all of the non-surds to the left side, and then for this surd term, compare these two. They're exactly the same. So when they are the same, it's like, let's say this whole thing is just surd A. So it's like negative surd A minus with surd A. Then you get minus 2 surd A. So on the right side, it's just going to be minus 2, and then the long surd. Just copy them down. Next, we just have to simplify the left hand side first. The left hand side is just 0, since 3 minus x minus 2x will be 0, and then 1 minus 2 plus 1 will also be 0. So left hand side now is equal to 0. And then how to take out x from the surd? Just have to square both sides, and 0 square is just 0. Since square meets square root, will cancel off. Then you have x plus 2 times 2x minus 1. This is just a quadratic equation where you can factorize, and this is the factorized answer. So the final answer is just x minus 2 or 2x minus 1 equal to 0, which is just x equal to 1 over 2. Remember to check the answer. Substitute x equal to negative 2 inside the original question and check whether the left and right side are equal. Since the left and right hand side, when I check for x equal to 2, are the same, the final answer is x equal to 1 over 2, but not x equal to negative 2, because the left and right hand side does not equal here. A faster way to check is, usually they're not equal because the value inside the square root or the surd is negative. So you can also check this quickly by substituting the value inside the surd and check whether it's positive or negative. If it's negative, then definitely we are going to reject the value, because this is an imaginary number. Of course, it will not equal to the right hand side.